I'm Michael Belmore. I'm an artist originally from Thunder Bay. I grew up there. I actually grew up north of there, a place called Uppsala. In sculpture, I worked in a variety of materials. I still continue to work in a variety of materials. Foremost plastics. I work in wood, I work in metal, various metals, steel, copper. I work in stone, do stained glass. Sort of, I work or respond to different ideas, and from those ideas I sort of pick the materials that best speak to that issue or best express the ideas behind that. So in particular for the piece here, I realized that it should be done in copper, and it's sort of thick copper, and so for Shorelines, I decided that the copper has a beautiful patina, it has a beautiful surface, and I wanted to celebrate that surface in a way that sort of dealt with how we see the environment, how we see the landscape, how it's a beautiful, pristine, in a sense, pristine wilderness, and celebrating that notion of landscape. But in actual fact, also recognizing that the material is a commodity, comes from the ground, it all is dug up. I think that, especially within Native culture, there's an affinity for copper compared to, say, aluminum. And often I've sort of used those two materials, one because one's more manufactured or seeming to be from man, and copper seems to be more from nature, even though both of them are quite destructive in their refining process and how we dig them up from the ground. But those are conscious choices. In the piece Shorelines, I wanted to have a certain thickness to represent sort of that value hidden beneath the surface. And that's sort of where the piece sort of first started. And to recognize, in a sense, that shoreline is sort of a boundary that exists for North America, and sort of relating the history or recognizing that history of one first contact, and the influences of how the interactions between Native and non-Native people happened. The copper I find important because I'm from the North Shore of Superior, and I'm part of the treaties that were part of the North Superior treaties, and those were signed because they found copper and gold on the shores, and within a year of finding the copper and gold, they signed treaties with all the First Nations people in order to guarantee the rights of the mineral rights to the Canadian government, or the Queen. And it's an important part of our history as far as our relationship to the Canadian government, and it's more about extraction than anything else. And so, because they found, again, it's raw copper and gold. The piece Shorelines actually consists of one material, which is copper. It's using essentially the process of chasing and repoussé. I've, for the most part, just chasing. I sort of mapped out the area of North America, and it was sort of, I lined the edge. I then hammered the edge of the shoreline, and it's a process of annealing the metal, which is to soften it, and then to hammer it, which then over time hardens. And I have to go through this whole process of annealing and then hammering, annealing and hammering, annealing and hammering. And in that process, I sort of create the patinas that appear on the surface. Because I only had 3.5 months to do this, like to get from here to there was one day. But that Baffin Island place up there, that was 3 weeks just to do. So I would basically sit there in my sandbox and go tick, 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 all the way around the edge. It's a good piece to be in the Smithsonian. It's a starting point. It's actually a piece that signifies a lot of what my work has been for probably the last couple of years and what will be in the future. So it's a good marker. And so for me, I'm really happy about that. And it's found a good home.